Yeah, I think I would probably break down.
Okay.
A few years ago, Stevie Wonder became incredibly famous, outside of the music industry, of course, thanks to surviving a tragic accident. Many people asked, is there something magical about Stevie Wonder? In addition to his outstanding songwriting talent, Stevie Wonder also possesses a series of secrets, mostly tragedies, that few people know about. So let's put aside his achievements and listen to his real story. Maybe you don't know that Stevie Wonder was born 6 weeks prematurely, a fact that set the stage for a life profoundly shaped by both adversity and triumph. Premature birth often comes with medical complications, and for Stevie Wonder, one such complication was retinopathy of prematurity, ROP. This condition, as explained by biography, is a disorder affecting the development of the retina, particularly in premature infants. According to the National Institutes of Health, NIH, ROP affects approximately 14,000 to 16,000 premature infants annually in the United States. Advances in neonatal care today mean that the vast majority of these infants recover fully, with only a small fraction, between 400 and 600 each year, progressing to legal blindness. However, in the mid-20th century, neonatal care was not as advanced. Stevie Wonder was placed in an incubator, a common practice for preemies at the time, but one fraught with risks due to less precise medical protocols. One potential complication of incubator care in the 1950s was the administration of excessive oxygen. While oxygen therapy was crucial for sustaining the lives of premature infants, the medical community had not yet fully understood how excessive oxygen levels could negatively affect retinal development. For Wonder, this likely exacerbated his condition, rendering him permanently blind. Despite this challenging start, his blindness became a defining aspect of his identity, not as a limitation, but as a unique perspective that would deeply influence his extraordinary musical career. From a young age, Stevie Wonder demonstrated extraordinary resilience and a sense of self-awareness. According to Oprah magazine, at the tender age of 5, he reassured his mother with a profound statement, "Don't worry about me being blind because I'm happy." This declaration not only underscored his innate optimism, but also hinted at the strength of character that would later make him an icon. His blindness was not something to be pitied, but rather an integral part of his journey toward becoming a musical prodigy. By 1960, when he was just 10 years old, Stevie had already experienced significant hardship. His relationship with his father was deeply troubled, and according to some reports, he was physically and emotionally abusive. However, his musical talent flourished despite these family struggles. Wonder spent much of his childhood singing on the streets of Detroit, entertaining passers-by and honing his craft. Detroit, a city known for its vibrant music scene, would become the perfect backdrop for his future success. In 1961, fate took a pivotal turn for Stevie Wonder. He encountered Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown Records, who would soon become a major figure in his life. Gordy, recognizing the raw talent and potential in Wonder, signed him to Motown at the age of 11. At that time, Wonder was still a child prodigy, and Motown had yet to fully realize the depth of the artist they had just brought into their fold. Stevie Wonder's signing with Motown was a momentous event, as it marked the beginning of a career that would see him become one of the most influential musicians of the 20th century. Motown, often referred to as the Sound of America, was known for launching the careers of numerous legendary artists, including Marvin Gaye, The Supremes, Michael Jackson, and DeBarge, among many others. However, while signing with Motown opened the doors to the music industry for Stevie, it did not guarantee instant wealth or creative freedom. As detailed in Motown, The Sound of America, Wonder was signed to a contract that granted him a modest 2% royalty fee for every record sold. At the time, singles were priced at 98 cents, meaning that Wonder earned just a small fraction of that amount for his work. His financial compensation from record sales was not enough to provide him with the financial security he deserved, but perhaps even more frustrating for Wonder was the lack of creative control he had over his own music. Motown's artists were often constrained by the label's stringent rules and lack of autonomy. According to history, most Motown artists had limited creative input into their music, as the label's executives, including Berry Gordy, controlled much of the production process. Stevie Wonder, however, was no ordinary artist. He was a virtuoso with an innate understanding of music, capable of playing multiple instruments and possessing a deep creative vision. Wonder's desire for more artistic freedom was evident from an early age. He didn't want to be restricted by the limitations of Motown's system and dreamed of creating music that truly reflected his soul and ambitions. In 1971, after years of working under Motown's control, Stevie Wonder made a bold move. He asked Berry Gordy for the freedom to produce and control his own music. Gordy, however, refused, unwilling to relinquish control over Wonder's creative output. In response, Wonder made a daring decision. He refused to continue working with Motown. Instead, he took matters into his own hands and began recording an album independently, a move that was almost unheard of in the industry at the time. Wonder's gamble paid off. His refusal to comply with the label's constraints and his willingness to stand up for his creative vision forced Motown to reconsider its position. In response, the label renegotiated his contract, offering him the artistic freedom he craved. This pivotal moment in Wonder's career gave him the liberty to fully explore his musical potential and set him on the path to creating some of his most beloved and critically acclaimed works. The years following the renegotiation were some of the most productive and transformative of Stevie Wonder's career. From 1972 to 1976, he released 5 groundbreaking albums, including Talking Book, Inner Visions, Fulfillingness First Finale, and Songs in the Key of Life. These albums not only solidified his place as one of the most influential musicians of his time, but also marked a shift in the music industry, showing that an artist could indeed retain creative control and still achieve immense commercial success. Most of us know that Stevie Wonder's career was very successful, but few people know about this serious difficulty he had to go through. When Wonder first began his career, his royalty payments from Motown were woefully low. As discussed earlier, he initially received only a 2% royalty fee, a small fraction of the money generated by his records. Motown, like many other record labels at the time, had a reputation for underpaying its artists, and Wonder was no exception. His youth and limited business experience meant he had little control over the financial aspects of his career. His immense musical contributions, however, could not be ignored, and by the early 1970s, Wonder realized that he needed to make a change if he was to receive the compensation he deserved. In 1971, Wonder took a crucial step in his career by hiring attorney Johannan Vigoda. Vigoda, as described by Adam White and other sources, was a truly eccentric figure in the legal world. Known for his strange behavior, Vigoda reportedly wandered around Venice Beach dressed like a homeless person and had a peculiar habit of spitting out sunflower seeds. He was also famous for carrying around legal documents in old airline bags, which only added to his colorful, unconventional persona. Motown staff reportedly joked that if Wonder could see the lawyer, he would have fired him. Such was the oddity of Vigoda's appearance and behavior. However, despite his quirks, Vigoda was a sharp and effective lawyer, an important distinction in a world where the business dealings of young artists were often taken advantage of. Vigoda quickly became an indispensable figure in Wonder's career, securing him a much better deal than the one he had originally signed with Motown. Under Vigoda's legal guidance, Wonder was able to renegotiate his contract, earning a 6% royalty fee, far better than the 2% he had previously received. This was a significant win for Wonder as it reflected the value he brought to Motown. However, the true complexity of the deal was revealed when the details of the contract became more scrutinized. Despite Vigoda's skillful negotiation, the contract contained some unusual terms that would come back to haunt Wonder in later years. One of the most unusual aspects of the deal with Vigoda was the stipulation that Wonder would be obligated to pay royalties to Vigoda's heirs for life and beyond. Wonder, who was blind and could not read the contract himself, relied on Vigoda to read it aloud to him. The implications of the contract's terms, particularly the lifelong obligation to pay Vigoda's heirs, were not fully understood by Wonder. Even with witnesses present during the contract signing, Vigoda could have used ambiguous legal language or omitted key details that would have clarified the terms of the deal. Wonder, trusting his lawyer and unable to review the contract for himself, unknowingly agreed to a lifelong financial commitment to Vigoda's family. The consequences of this deal became apparent after Vigoda's death in 2011. Wonder, now aware of the unusual contract terms, stopped making payments to Vigoda's heirs after 20 months. This led to a lawsuit from Vigoda's widow, who sought $7 million in damages. The case was ultimately settled out of court, but the legal dispute highlighted the complicated relationship between Wonder and his former lawyer, as well as the challenges Wonder faced in navigating the often murky waters of the music business. Continuing the dark days of Stevie Wonder. The summer of 1973 was a momentous time for Stevie Wonder, both professionally and personally. At just 23 years old, he was experiencing an extraordinary period in his career. His album, Inner Visions, released earlier that year, was met with critical acclaim, and one of its singles, You Are the Sunshine of My Life, had just topped the charts. The song was not only a commercial success, but also a reflection of Wonder's ability to combine deep emotional expression with musical innovation, solidifying his reputation as a true genius of the era. It was the culmination of years of hard work and growth, and Wonder was on top of the world. Yet, despite this professional triumph, there was an eerie sense of foreboding surrounding Wonder during those weeks leading up to August 6, 1973. In an interview with Rolling Stone, Wonder candidly expressed a sense of impending doom, stating that he felt as though he was about to die, though he couldn't explain why. His words were ominous, and as it turned out, they would prove tragically prescient. On August 6th, while driving down a highway in North Carolina with his cousin, Stevie Wonder's life took a harrowing turn. As they traveled along the road, an out-of-control truck loaded with lumber collided with the back of their vehicle. The impact of the crash was devastating. Wonder, who was sitting in the passenger seat, suffered severe injuries, including a broken skull. The severity of the injuries caused him to slip into a coma, a state that would leave his family, friends, and fans fearing the worst. News of the accident spread quickly, and those closest to Wonder were desperate for answers. Among the people who rushed to be by his side was Ira Tucker, a longtime friend and fellow musician. Tucker vividly recalled the first time he saw Wonder after the accident. He was shocked and devastated by the sight of his friend in the hospital. Man, I couldn't recognize him. His head was swollen up to 5 times its normal size, and nobody could get through to him. The injuries were so severe that Wonder's appearance was almost unrecognizable. His head had swollen to an enormous size due to the trauma, and he remained unconscious, unresponsive to the voices of his loved ones. Wonder had always been known for his deep connection to music, and it was said that he often used it as a source of comfort and strength. Tucker, knowing how important music was to Wonder, decided to try something in the hope of rousing him from his coma. He shouted in Wonder's ear, hoping that the sound would break through the haze of unconsciousness. Initially, this tactic seemed futile, as Wonder showed no sign of response. However, Tucker did not give up. Instead, he began singing one of Wonder's own songs, Higher Ground, a track from Inner Visions that had been widely praised and was one of the standout moments of the album. In an incredible turn of events, Tucker's singing began to elicit a response from Wonder. At first, it was a subtle movement, but it was enough to signal that Wonder was beginning to regain some awareness. It was a moment of hope in what had been a grim situation. Within a week, Stevie Wonder emerged from the coma, much to the relief of his friends and family. His recovery was nothing short of miraculous, given the extent of the injuries he had sustained. Wonder's resilience and strength were on full display, as he made a rapid recovery that defied expectations. In another notable aspect, in 1985, Stevie Wonder became an outspoken and influential voice in the global movement against apartheid, South Africa's system of institutionalized racial segregation and oppression. The struggle against apartheid, led by figures like Nelson Mandela, had garnered international attention, and many artists, musicians, and activists from around the world began to use their platforms to call for an end to the regime. Wonder, with his profound influence and musical reach, was determined to do his part in challenging the injustice that plagued South Africa. On Valentine's Day of that year, Stevie Wonder staged an act of protest that would make a powerful statement. He arrived at the South African Embassy in Washington, D.C., in a limousine, dressed in a fur coat, and wearing a sign that read, "Free South Africa," around his neck. This gesture was not merely symbolic. Wonder had come to physically demonstrate his solidarity with the people of South Africa who were suffering under the apartheid regime. He wasn't just making a statement with words. He was putting his freedom on the line. Wonder voluntarily allowed himself to be arrested, standing alongside 47 other protesters. In a statement that underscored his deep commitment to the cause, he declared himself a conscientious criminal, choosing to break the law as a form of civil disobedience in order to stand up against the barbaric policies of apartheid. His detention was not a moment of defeat for Wonder, but rather an act of solidarity and an expression of his unwavering love and support for those who were fighting for equality in South Africa. Later in 1985, Stevie Wonder's music would earn him one of the most prestigious accolades in the entertainment industry, an Oscar. He won the Academy Award for Best Original Song for "I Just Called to Say I Love You," a heartfelt and timeless ballad from the soundtrack of the film The Woman in Red. While the Oscar was a personal achievement, Wonder took the opportunity to use his platform to further his commitment to social justice. When accepting the award, Wonder dedicated it to Nelson Mandela, the South African leader who was imprisoned at the time for his role in the anti-apartheid movement. Mandela's imprisonment was a symbol of the injustices that the apartheid system inflicted upon the people of South Africa, and Wonder's public acknowledgement of Mandela underscored his determination to advocate for the end of apartheid. In response to Wonder's outspoken support for the anti-apartheid movement, South Africa retaliated in the only way it knew how, by banning Wonder's music. The apartheid regime, which was notoriously sensitive to any form of dissent or international pressure, sought to silence Wonder's powerful voice. However, the ban only served to further galvanize Wonder's commitment to the cause. Rather than retreating in the face of this petty and tyrannical action, Wonder became even more emboldened in his advocacy. His music continued to inspire, and his influence spread across the globe, regardless of the regime's attempts to censor him. Wonder's efforts to speak out against apartheid did not stop with the banning of his music. In fact, he used every opportunity to advocate for change. On his 35th birthday, in 1985, Wonder took to the international stage in front of the United Nations. There, he continued to use his platform to denounce apartheid, speaking out against the system's brutality and the oppression of millions of people. As part of the performance, Wonder sang, "I Just Called to Say I Love You." But with a powerful and symbolic twist, he incorporated Nelson Mandela's name into the lyrics, turning the song into a tribute to the man who had become the face of the struggle against apartheid. Wonder's birthday celebration became more than just a personal milestone. It was a call to action and a plea for international solidarity in the fight for justice. As Wonder continued to fight for social change, his personal life also took a momentous turn. On his 55th birthday, Wonder welcomed his 7th child into the world. This new chapter in his life was made even more memorable when Nelson Mandela, who had been released from prison in 1990, reached out to Wonder. The two men had formed a bond over the years, united by their shared commitment to justice and equality. In a gesture that was both deeply personal and symbolic, Mandela called Wonder to say, "I want to name your child." Mandela's influence and presence in Wonder's life were profound, and his request to name the child was a testament to their enduring friendship and mutual respect. The tragedy did not stop there. In 2012, Stevie Wonder faced an unsettling and deeply personal scandal that involved a betrayal from an unexpected source, his own cousin. Alpha Walker, a relative who had been in and out of legal trouble, attempted to extort the music icon in a brazen and exploitative scheme. Walker, aided by his girlfriend Tamara Diaz, attempted to capitalize on his familial connection to Wonder by demanding a significant sum of money to keep a damaging video from being released to the public. The video in question was a harrowing 80-minute rant that included a disturbing mix of accusations and personal attacks against Wonder. In the video, Walker showcased the disrepair of Wonder's late mother's home, which he claimed was indicative of Wonder's negligence and irresponsibility. Additionally, the video featured footage of Wonder's son, creating an unsettling and invasive portrayal of the family's private life. It was clear that Walker was attempting to exploit his access to Wonder's personal world for financial gain, using family secrets and his position as a relative to further his extortionist goals. Walker, who was on probation for grand theft auto at the time, claimed that his hardships in life were somehow connected to Stevie Wonder's success, and he seemed to harbor a deep resentment toward his famous cousin. His demands reflected the bitterness and irrationality of his thinking. Initially, Walker sought $10 million from Wonder in exchange for his silence. When this figure was not met, Walker's demands dropped to $5 million and eventually to $500,000. His decreasing demands demonstrated not only the absurdity of the situation, but also the desperation of a man who was willing to go to great lengths to exploit his connection to Wonder, even when faced with mounting evidence of his criminal actions. The accusations Walker made against Wonder were as outlandish as they were defamatory. He called the music legend a slumlord and leveled bizarre, unfounded allegations, including an accusation of incest. These baseless claims were not only deeply damaging to Wonder's reputation, but also showed the lengths to which Walker was willing to go in order to tarnish his cousin's name. The entire situation was a gross violation of the trust that typically exists within families, a stark reminder of how a greedy relative can exploit family bonds for personal gain. When Walker's demands went unheeded, he continued to push for a payout, hoping that Wonder would cave to his threats. However, the situation took a turn when the authorities were alerted to Walker's criminal activities. A sting operation was set up to catch him in the act, and Walker was eventually nabbed by law enforcement. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Walker attempted to defend his actions in court, arguing that he had a constitutional right to make and market the video. This ludicrous defense was met with incredulity, and it quickly became apparent that Walker's argument would hold no weight in a court of law. Realizing that his defense was untenable, Walker ultimately chose to plead no contest to the charges. His girlfriend, Tamara Diaz, who had been complicit in the extortion attempt, also faced legal consequences for her involvement. In the end, both Walker and Diaz were sentenced to 292 days in jail, in addition to probation and mandatory counseling. Now let's focus our attention on Stevie Wonder's personal life. With a total of 9 children, born to 5 different women, Wonder's love life has attracted attention over the years, not only for his musical prowess, but also for the personal relationships he has cultivated along the way. Despite his fame, Wonder has experienced the complexities of family life, marriage, and relationships that many can relate to, though his circumstances have certainly been unique. Wonder's first marriage took place in 1970 when he married singer and songwriter Syreeta Wright. The two artists were not only partners in life, but also in music, collaborating on several hit songs. Their most notable musical partnership came during the years following their marriage, with Wonder and Wright co-writing several tracks, including the iconic song Signed, Sealed, Delivered I'm Yours, which became one of Wonder's major hits. Their marriage, however, ended in divorce in 1972, just 2 years after they tied the knot. Despite the end of their romantic relationship, they maintained a strong professional bond, continuing to work together musically after their separation. The divorce was a chapter in Wonder's life, but it wasn't the end of his journey when it came to love and relationships. Wonder's second marriage took place in 2001 when he wed fashion designer Kai Millard. This union marked a new chapter in his personal life, and it lasted for several years, though it ended in divorce in 2012. While Wonder's marriages have not always been long-lasting, one common thread throughout his relationships is that he reportedly maintains a good rapport with all his exes, according to The Telegraph. This sentiment stands in stark contrast to the public perception that celebrity relationships are often riddled with animosity and bitterness. Wonder, in his wisdom, seems to prioritize respect and understanding, even when his romantic partnerships come to an end. In 2017, Wonder married his third wife, Tamika Robin Bracey, a woman who, despite being younger than him, shares an undeniable connection with the artist. What makes this marriage even more noteworthy is the age difference. Bracey is the same age as Wonder's oldest child, who was 42 at the time. Despite the age gap, the couple's relationship has remained strong, and they have a daughter together, marking a new chapter for Wonder, who now finds himself navigating life as both a father and a husband for the third time. However, Wonder's personal life hasn't been without its controversies. One of the most publicized legal disputes occurred in 2001 when his ex-girlfriend, Angela McAfee, sued him for $30 million. McAfee accused Wonder of violating a verbal agreement to financially support her and claimed that he had given her herpes. Wonder, in turn, countersued McAfee, alleging that she had stolen $160,000 worth of his belongings. The legal battle between Wonder and McAfee was a messy one, but a judge ultimately instructed both parties to settle out of court, admitted to us that Stevie Wonder is famous for a variety of reasons, but perhaps one of the most enduring aspects of his legacy is his gift for crafting songs about love. From his early hits, like I Just Called to Say I Love You, to more complex and emotive tracks like You Are the Sunshine of My Life, Wonder has built a career around exploring the nuances of affection, romance, and longing. His love songs have captivated audiences for decades, making listeners feel as though his heart beats for them, while also serving as a soundtrack to countless relationships. For many, his lyrics resonate deeply, evoking feelings of warmth and tenderness. However, as with all art, Wonder's love songs are not without their critics, with some feeling that the overt sentimentality of his words can be a bit too much. Regardless of where one stands on the matter, there's no greatest denying that Wonder has been one of the advocates for love, both in his personal life and in his music. As Wonder himself has said, no one has been a greater advocate for the power of love in this world than I have, both in my life and in my music. His devotion to love is not merely a theme in his songs, but a guiding principle in his life. Wonder's romanticism extends beyond lyrics and melodies. It's woven into the fabric of who he is as a person. His music, full of heartfelt declarations and impassioned sentiments, reflects his belief in love's transformative and redemptive power. While the melodies and rhythms have evolved over time, the theme of love remains a constant in his vast discography. Beyond his music, Wonder's own romantic life has also been a subject of fascination, particularly when it comes to his ability to attract beautiful women. Now, this may seem counterintuitive to some, given that Wonder is blind, but for him, physical appearance is far from the only indicator of beauty. Wonder has long had a reputation for being able to pick out attractive women from a crowd, a skill that is impressive given his lack of sight. His method for determining a woman's appeal may not involve the traditional visual cues, but it is based on a set of other sensory markers that he's developed over the years. According to Wonder, there are specific physical and behavioral traits that allow him to identify someone he perceives as attractive. For example, he has stated that he can often tell if a woman is dressed well by the quality of her clothing, the way she speaks softly, and, most notably, by the fragrance she wears. A lady that wears an expensive top is not loud when she speaks and smells good. That's how I know, Wonder explained. These subtle indicators, like the texture of fabric, the sound of a voice, and the fragrance of perfume, serve as his visual cues in navigating the world around him, helping him identify women he might be drawn to. This ability to pick up on non-visual signals is a testament to Wonder's heightened senses and deep connection to the world around him. His understanding of beauty is not constrained by sight. Rather, it's rooted in other sensory experiences that allow him to appreciate a person's essence in ways that many sighted individuals may overlook. Additionally, Wonder's perception of a woman's lightness on her feet is another way he gauges physical attractiveness. He believes that someone who walks gracefully is likely to be a pretty lady. This emphasis on movement, grace, and subtlety speaks to the depth of Wonder's appreciation for beauty, which extends beyond the superficial. Wonder's ability to recognize these qualities in others showcases his understanding of how beauty manifests in many forms. It's not simply about outward appearance, but also about the energy a person exudes. Interestingly, Wonder also relies on his entourage to help him navigate social situations where he might need to be more specific in his compliments. According to sources, his friends and assistants often provide him with details about what women are wearing, which allows him to give them more personalized compliments. This helps Wonder engage in conversations with women in a way that feels more tailored and genuine, as he can comment on their outfits with specificity. Though Wonder is unable to see the garments himself, his entourage's descriptions help him make the women he interacts with feel seen and appreciated. This strategy not only showcases his ability to navigate his world with charm, but also reveals his deep care for those around him. Despite all of these external aids, Wonder's most straightforward approach to expressing affection is, unsurprisingly, simple yet deeply meaningful. He could just call someone and say, "I love you." This gesture, while perhaps unremarkable on the surface, is in line with the spirit of his music, where the act of expressing love is both direct and profound. Whether through a phone call or a lyric, Wonder's message remains the same. Love is one of the most powerful forces in life, and it is worth expressing in all its forms, regardless of the medium. What do you think about Stevie Wonder's life? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.